Thank you very much, councillors and general manager, directors, managers, the clergy and the press. A warm welcome to you and declare open our Temora Shire Council meeting for the month of August, and welcome you all here. I remind us all that this meeting is being recorded and will be placed on Temora Shire Council's webpage for public information, and all present today are reminded that whilst we're speaking that we're agreeing, of course, that our view and comments are being recorded and published. And we're also reminded that if or when that we're speaking, we're to be respectful of others and use the appropriate language. Temora Shire Council accepts no liability for any defamatory or offensive remarks or gestures during this council meeting. As we begin our meeting today, Temora Shire councillors, our senior staff and I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of Temora Shire's land and waters, the Wiradjuri people. We pay our heartfelt respect to their elders, both past and present, acknowledging the role they have and will continue to play as members of our Temora Shire community, a special place we all proudly call home. Thank you very much, and we now go to our opening prayer, and it's great to have in the chamber the Reverend Nathan Munwaring. Thank you, Reverend.
Psalm 100 says, "Know that the Lord is God. It is He who made us, and we are His. We are His people, the sheep of His pasture. The Lord is good, and His love endures forever. His faithfulness continues through all generations." And so, Lord, bless the land of our farmers, that we may receive its produce to sustain our community. Bless our police force, our paramedics, fire brigade and SES as they come to our aid in troubles. Bless our businesses, our sporting and arts groups, our voluntary organisations, aged care facilities and places of learning as they enrich our lives. Bless our medical, nursing and pharmacy staff as they care for us. We give you thanks for the work of our Shire councillors, our council management and staff in preparation for this meeting. Please give each person present clarity of speech, alertness of mind, patience and wisdom to make decisions in the best interests of the people of Temora Shire. We thank you for the new General Manager, Melissa Boxall, and her family. And we pray for care and kindness to be shown to them as they settle in and make Temora Shire their home. We pray for our representatives in state and federal parliament, for Steph Cook and Michael McCormack. We pray also for our Premier, Chris Minns, and the Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese. Equip them for the demands of their roles. Give them wisdom to make difficult decisions, humility to listen carefully to others, resilience in the face of criticism, and endurance for their long hours of work. We ask these things in the name of the Lord Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Beautiful words, Reverend, and thank you very, very much. You have a God-given gift. Thank you. Councillors, let's now move to the apologies. We have apologies from the Engineering Assets Manager. I think that's it, isn't it? Thank you. Someone moved that apology. Thank you, Councillor Reinhold. Councillor Oliver moved and seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare that motion carried. Thank you very much. Any declaration of any interest, councillors, at this time, please? Councillor Bushell.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I do declare for an interest with the notice of motion submitted by Councillor McLaren with a staff member or a relative.
Thank you, Councillor Bushell. Okay, thank you. Let's proceed now to confirmation of the July meeting of Temora Shire Council, that those minutes be approved as a true and correct record. Thank you, Councillor Good. Seconder for the motion, please. The Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair. Thank you. Moved and seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. And I declare the motion carried. Thank you. Councillors, let's proceed to our business paper, the White Pages, page 11, the Assets and Operations Committee report, and the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair, is the Chairman.
Mr Mr Mayor, I'll move that the report be received.
Thank you. So the Deputy Mayor's moved the reports received. Seconded, Councillor Oliver. Thank you. Moved and seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. I declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. The Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinker, do you have anything you wish to highlight out of the Assets and Operations Committee report?
No, Mr Mayor.
No, thank you. Councillors, any comments or questions? If not, would someone like to move the report and recommendations for the Assets and Operations Committee be adopted? Thank you, Councillor Good. Seconder for the motion, please, Councillor Bushell. Thank you. Moved, seconded. Discussion. There's no further discussion. I'll put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. I declare the motion carried. Thank you very, very much. Councillors, let's proceed over to page 34, the minutes of the Economic Development Visitations Committee. I was the acting chairman in the absence of Councillor McLaren, and would someone be prepared to move that the report's received? Councillor McLaren, thank you. Councillor Judd, second the motion. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. I declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. Councillors, any items out of the report? Councillor McLaren, did you have anything?
No, just as it is written, thanks.
Yep, thank you. Councillors, also I want to commend the Town Planner and the Economic Development Manager for the presentation. I was a late withdrawal from the public forum during Local Government Week, but the presentation that you've got in the business papers, I understand, was very well received, and it's a handy document for us as councillors to have on hand, and for staff for that matter. So thank you very much for that. Well, councillors, you have the Economic Development Visitations Committee report and recommendations. Would someone care to move that the report and recommendations be approved? Thank you, Councillor McLaren. Councillor Good. Moved, seconded. Is there discussion? There's no further discussion. I will put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye. The contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. Councillors, over to page 82. We have delegates' reports. Do we have delegates' reports from councillors, please? I go to the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Simpson.
Yes, Mr Mayor, we held the AGM for the Australia Day Committee 2 or 3 weeks ago. Not a lot's changed, nothing's changed actually as far as the executive goes. So I'm the chair, Mayor is the deputy chair, Councillor Oliver is the treasurer, and Beth Thurman is the secretary. So we holding the Australia Day function again as per usual. So yeah, nothing's changed that scene either. But if anyone's got any ideas or like to give us a hand, you're more than welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor, and congratulations on your reappointment. A long-standing appointment, but it's a special organisation that we love being involved with. Thank you. Further delegates' reports. Councillor Reinhold.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yes, I attended the Business Awards put on by Teabag, and it was just a fantastic night. I think they had about 130 people present. It's just a really good buzz within the business community, and also just to acknowledge that the David Carruthers Lifetime Achievement in Business, we had 3 recipients. Phil Blyer from Harvey Norman, Gary Lynch from Gazza's, and Reinhold's Butchery, which I probably should declare some sort of interest there, but 58 years in business, I think it was a well-deserved award. Anyway, that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Reinhold, and I unfortunately wasn't able to attend that night. I was invited to present one of those special awards, but I'm grateful that Councillor Judd was able to fill in. So thank you very much, Councillor Judd. Did you have any comment?
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. It was a pleasure to represent you at the awards night. Being a past TB president and patron, and certainly had a fair bit to do with Phil Blyer, especially back in the 90s and early 2000s when it was before it was Temora Business Association. So, those are the days when we had a half dozen regulars, you know, and kept the thing going. So it was good, and I'm very impressed on the night by the number of young entrepreneurs we have in Temora starting businesses. So augurs well for the future of the Temora business community. So yeah, I congratulate them all. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Councillor Judd and Councillor Reinhold, for that. Further delegates' reports. Council, just to advise that the General Manager and Deputy Mayor and I had a Zoom meeting scheduled with the New South Wales Agriculture Minister and the Minister for Regional New South Wales, the Honourable Tara Moriarty, and that was scheduled for next week. However, we've had to postpone, and that was arranged through the member for Cootamundra's office, so we're grateful to the member for Cootamundra and her team for arranging that, but obviously we're just trying to establish a genuine relationship there, in particular with reference to the Agriculture Innovation Centre, and get her out here to see what great things are happening out there. We had our Sports Council executive meeting, annual general meeting last night, and the same executive team that have been there for a long time, but obviously love what they're doing, and so we look forward to continuing for the 12 months, and Councillor Oliver joins us again on the executive. We have our REROC board meeting, of course, will be held Friday week in Wagga Wagga, and I'm very pleased pardon me, that the General Manager and I, a series of meetings when we were in Sydney for Country Mayors recently, which is in the information paper and the report, but to meet with Minister for Local Government, the Honourable Ron Honig, very, very generous with his time, you know, giving us over an hour, which we were very, very grateful for, and had some, you know, some frank but respectful discussions about a whole series of issues, and I think, you know, hopefully we may see some positive news potentially in the Red Fleet front, so we just have to watch this space in that regard. But again, I just wanted to place on record Council's sincere appreciation to Minister Honig for making time available. And finally, councillors, just to advise you that the General Manager and I have a series of meetings in Wagga on Thursday the 31st of August, again trying to introduce the General Manager to as many as we can. The Federal Member for Riverina and the Regional New South Wales Riverina Director, Mr Giles Butler, the Mayor of Wagga Wagga and the General Manager, and catching up with the Chief Executive of REROC, Mrs Briggs, and who else was there? And that was it. So that's just for your information that we're doing our best to get her out and about. So that's for your information. Any further delegates' reports? No? Thank you very much. So let's go over to page 83, the Mayor's report for July, and there's a recommendation, councillors, on page 87 that the Mayor's report be noted. Thank you, Councillor Good has moved that way. Seconder for the motion, Councillor Oliver, thank you. Moved. Seconded. Discussion. There's no further discussion. I'll put the motion. All those of that opinion, please say aye. On the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you. Councillors, over to page 88. Could I have a motion to receive staff reports, please? Councillor Good, thank you. Councillor Reinhold has seconded the motion. Moved, seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you. Councillors, we'll go to seals first for August, so that is a late report. So if you have that on your desks. Thank you. So Councillor Good is moving that the seal be affixed. Seconded Councillor Bushell. Thank you. Moved and seconded. Is there further discussion? Councillor Irvine.
Just to confirm that the agreement is fundamentally as per the first draft that we saw with the amendments that were discussed the other day.
That's 100% my understanding, Councillor Irvine. Thank you. No further discussion? If not, I'll put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. Let's go over to page 89. Pardon me, General Manager's report, 12.1 calendar of events. The General Manager.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Through you, Mr Mayor, you'll see that there's various events listed there for August, September and October.
Thank you very much, Madam General Manager. Councillors, you have the calendar of events there from the General Manager. Is someone prepared to move the recommendation they be noted, or is there an alternate? Councillor Oliver?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'll move that the report be noted. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Seconded, Councillor Good. Thank you. Moved, seconded. There's no further discussion. If not, I'll put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you. And also acknowledging in the chamber Miss Grace Mannion, our Secretary of Environmental Services and Engineering. Great to have you here assisting the Director and learning the ropes. So a warm acknowledgement to you. Page 90, 12.2, November Council meeting. The General Manager.
Thank you. Through you, Mr Mayor. We have the Local Government New South Wales Annual Conference being held on the 12th to the 14th of November. And this is at the Rosehill Gardens Racecourse. We are recommending that Council change the date of the November Council meeting to Thursday the 30th of November to accommodate this conference. And we're suggesting that Council consider whether or not we change the date for the committee meetings as well.
Thank you, Madam General Manager. So, councillors, you see there that there's those dates, and at least there's plenty of notice for council to accommodate that. So it's a matter for council. You have a recommendation there to consider that we change the date to the 30th of November and then determine the committee day. Councillor Oliver, you're off. Oh, sorry. You were flashing, and then, as in your microphone was. Councillor Oliver.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, I think. Yeah, I don't have any issue with the dates being changed. I don't know whether anybody else in the chamber does, but I certainly, it doesn't affect my lifestyle, so.
Thank you, Councillor. What's wrong? There's something wrong with... Pardon? We might, our technical experts will thank you. I'll go to Councillor Irvine. Councillor Irvine.
I think if we're going to move the meeting date, we have to move the committee meeting date. Otherwise, we're going to end up with a too big a gap between the committee meetings and the meeting, and there'll be just too much business that just doesn't get an opportunity to be discussed prior. So I think I'd be happy enough to move the recommendation with the addition that the committee date be moved as well.
To the 21st, is that what you think? Yeah. Thanks, Councillor Irvine. So Councillor Irvine's moving that way. Seconder for the motion. Thank you, Councillor Oliver. Moved and seconded. Is there further discussion? Councillor Good, discussion.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. My only concern is that the December meeting, it would generally be only 2 weeks after that.
It's on the 21st, isn't it?
Is it the 21st?
My understanding is that the 21st.
19th, I think.
19th, is it? So the 21st, yeah.
In the past, haven't we moved that back?
Sorry, Councillor Good.
In the past, haven't we moved that back because it's too close to Christmas?
No, not that I recall.
Okay.
You in the festive spirit early, are you? Or?
That's right.
No, thank you, Councillor Good. So moved and seconded that the recommendation be adopted and that the committee date be Tuesday the 21st of November. There's no further discussion. I'll put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. And thank you very much, councillors, for working with us in that space. Councillors, we go over to page 91, 12.3, report on notice of motion, the General Manager.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Through you, Mr Mayor. This is a report associated with a notice of motion received regarding Goldenfields Water County Council. The information is here for the council's consideration. I would be recommending that this be considered when the notice of motion is considered by council.
Yeah. Thanks, Madam General Manager. So, councillors, we won't be debating the General Manager's report. However, we can obviously consider that when we consider the notice of motion. So there's a recommendation on page 92 that we note the report from the General Manager. Councillor Bushell, thank you. Councillor Reinhold seconded the motion. Moved, seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. I declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. Let's go over to page 93, 12.4, the National Local Roads Congress, the General Manager.
Thank you. Through you, Mr Mayor. The National Local Roads Congress is coming up in Canberra on the 6th and 7th of September. It is seen to be a valuable event to attend as a council. We are recommending attendance by nominating a councillor and a staff representative to attend the Congress.
Thank you, Madam General Manager. Councillors, you have that report in front of you, and being in Canberra, I know that Councillor Judd, you've attended over the years, and some others. I remember the former Mayor Peter Spears, and this one is in Canberra, and that's. I think it was felt that it would be great to send a councillor and a staff representative. Councillor Good.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I move that we nominate a councillor and a staff member to attend the conference.
Thank you. So you're moving that way. Are you nominating any particular councillor?
I would nominate Nigel, Councillor Judd. He usually goes, and I think he's probably the appropriate one to go.
Thank you. Sorry, I'll just go to Councillor Judd just to seek clarity. Thanks, Councillor Judd.
I was hoping that Councillor Sinclair might have considered going to this one.
Okay, thank you. So the Deputy Mayor, are you happy to nominate the Deputy Mayor? Thank you. And the staff member, one of the engineering managers?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Councillor Good. So the Deputy, is there a seconder for that motion, now that we've got that? Councillor Judd, thank you. Moved and seconded that we nominate the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair, and the staff representative be the Manager of Engineering Assets to attend the 2023 National Local Roads Transport Infrastructure Congress. Discussion. I'm assuming Mr Fisher would be pleased to attend. Okay, thank you. Councillor Judd.
Yes, Mr Mayor, I attend a number of these over the years. I also attend the IPWA one in Sydney on the Roads Congress in June. The one-day one in June by IPWA is probably 2/3 engineers, 1/3 councillors, whereas this Roads Congress is probably the other way around, 2/3 councillors and 1/3 engineers, sort of thing. So it's sort of more political than the one in Canberra this time. So, yes.
No, thanks very much, Councillor Judd. Well, we have a motion before you that is on the screen, and just actually we'll get in the habit of the mover and seconder and councillors all to read the screen to make sure that you're happy. Councillor Good, Councillor Judd, moving that council nominate the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair, and the Engineering Assets Manager to attend the 2023 National Local Roads Transport Infrastructure Congress. Happy? Moved and seconded. I'm going to now put the motion. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. And declare the motion carried. And thank you very much. Councillors, we now go over to page 110 in the General Manager's report, 12.5, the LGNSW Conference. The General Manager.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Through you, Mr Mayor, we have a delegation attending the LG New South Wales Conference in November, as we've discussed previously this afternoon. What we've asked councillors to consider is if any councillors would like us to put forward a motion to the conference, that they submit it to myself by Thursday the 14th of September, so that we can include it at the next council meeting in the business paper, so that we can put it forward for consideration as part of that that conference that's coming up. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam General Manager. Councillors, you have that report there and a recommendation from the General Manager that we note the report, or is there an alternate? The Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair.
I'll move the recommendation.
Thank you. The Deputy Mayor is moving that Council note the report. Seconded, Councillor McLaren. Thank you. Moved. Seconded. Discussion. There's no further discussion. I'll put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you. Councillors, let's proceed over to page 127, 12.6, psychosocial hazards. And I now go to the General Manager.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Through you, Mr Mayor, in late 2022, there were changes to the workplace health and safety regulations. Council is currently working through updates and changes to its policies and procedures in response to those updates to the regulation. This is an operational procedure that has been adopted by Council. The staff have been made aware of this updated procedure. We are now putting this to Council for Council's acknowledgement. As councillors are identified as other within the workplace, it is important that councillors are aware of the update to the regulations, but also aware of, I guess, the procedures that staff are working to. And so we've attached that information for councillors to acknowledge and also to have awareness of the advice that has been received previously regarding the Workplace Health and Safety Act and regulations as well.
Thank you, Madam General Manager. You have the report. The council is in front of you and a recommendation to consider. Councillor Judd.
My question to the General Manager is that does this only apply to workforce, or does it apply to councillors as well?
Thank you, Councillor Judd. I go to the General Manager.
Through you, Mr Mayor, the procedure itself only applies to the staff within the workforce, but in terms of making the council aware of it, it's about acknowledging the procedure and how it applies in a workplace, and that is why it's being reported to the council.
Thank you, Madam General Manager. Go to Councillor Judd.
Do we have any cover for councillors if they're in a similar situation?
Thank you, Councillor Judd. The General Manager.
Through you, Mr Mayor, for the councillors, it would be managed through the Code of Practice and the Code of Conduct and the associated policies and practices around that. This is in terms of having awareness of the procedures that the staff work within. And so this is more about having an awareness and an understanding of the constraints or the expectations of staff in the workplace.
Thank you very much, Madam General Manager. Thank you, Councillor Judd. Councillors, you have the report there, 12.6, and a series of 3 recommendations there to consider on 127. Councillor Good.
I move the recommendation, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Good is moving the recommendations that Council acknowledge procedure WHS 125. 2, that Council note the attached Division 11 of the Workplace Health and Safety Regulation 2017, and 3, that Council note the attached Memorandum of Advice regarding the obligations of elected councillors under the WHS Act. So Councillor Good's moved that way. Seconder for the motion, Councillor Oliver, thank you. Moved, seconded, further discussion. If not, I'll put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To To the contrary, no. And declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. Anything of an urgent, late nature, Madam General Manager?
Thank you. Nothing, Mr Mayor.
No, thanks. Thank you very, very much. Councillors, let's go over to page 147. The Engineering Services Department report, 13.1, the Capital Works deferral, and I defer to the Engineering Works Manager.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Through you, this report's put forward by the Engineering Asset Manager. It's as written, so happy to take any comment, but it's pretty self-explanatory. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr Manager. I think the General Manager, you had an update in relation to this report for Councillors' information. The General Manager.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Through you, Mr Mayor. I've been informed that the Rugby League President is aware of the proposed delay and it shouldn't impact the schedule for the Rugby League Club in relation to this particular site.
Yeah, no, thanks very much, Madam General Manager. Well, Councillors, you have the report there from our Engineering Assets Manager, and there is a recommendation for Council to consider, and that is that Council defer the works to the 2024-25 financial year. Or is there an alternate? Councillor Oliver?
I'll move the recommendation, Mr.
Thank you. Councillor Oliver has moved the recommendation. Seconded, Councillor Good. Thank you. Moved, seconded. Further discussion? Further discussion, Councillor Irvine.
So just reading through that report, can I understand that the only reason for deferring it is to accommodate the carnival?
Thank you, Councillor Irvine. I defer to the Manager.
Yes, through you, Mr Mayor. To answer Councillor Irvine, that is correct, just to accommodate that series moves around the area, and it just happens to be the year that it falls in Temora, so just to accommodate that for the current year, the deferral of the works is being sought.
Thank you, Mr Manager. Thank you, Councillor Irvine. Councillors, if there's no further discussion, I'll put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. I declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. Anything of an urgent, late nature, Mr Manager?
No.
Thank you. Let's now proceed, Councillors, to page 148. We have nil to report from the Environmental Services Department, nil to report from the Administration and Finance Department. We have nil correspondence and nil business with notice. So moving right along, we go to page 149. The notices of motion, 18.1, Public Post Office Bank in Australia. And Councillor Irvine, do you wish to...
I'd like to move a motion. If I could move a motion that Council consider supporting the campaign for a public post office bank in Australia.
Thank you. So the actual motion you're saying is to consider supporting. So you're saying that do you wish to move that Council support?
Yeah, well, that's a condensed. Yes, I would like to see Council support that, yes.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Irvine. Is there a seconder for that particular motion, please? Thank you, Councillor Reinhold. Moved and seconded. Discussion. I go to Councillor Irvine.
Yeah, so this motion came before Council last year, and at that point in time, the National Australia Bank was still operating out of Temora, and my understanding was that the main reason put forward for not supporting this was that we were better off supporting the banks so that they wouldn't leave, but it appears that even with our support, they're still leaving. I think there's every indication, looking at Westpac have just recently announced they're leaving Tennant Creek. Commonwealth Bank have delayed leaving Junee, but I think they still want to. So it's not only contained to one brand of bank, I think it's across the board. So I think it'd be, this group of people are fairly passionate and they have got a reasonably solid proposal. I don't imagine that it would be the final form, but I do think it would be sensible for council to support some moves in this space. It's been supported by a number of other councils throughout New South Wales and Australia-wide, and if we don't help ourselves, I just think we're going to end up with no banking services in rural and regional New South Wales or Australia.
Thank you, Councillor Irvine. I go now in discussion on the motion to Councillor McLaren.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I also support this motion. As you know, I've been in remote Central Australia for a couple of weeks and I took cash with me, but I was absolutely astounded that once you get past some of the medium-sized towns like Port Augusta, you can't buy anything with cash. So in Uluru in Central Australia, you have to use electronic banking to pay for things. So because there's no banking in their community for them to deposit the cash. So I support this, not because we particularly need it yet, but there are lots of areas in remote regional Australia that don't have banking services but still retain a postal service, and Uluru has a postal service, and if they're able to deposit cash and do banking transactions within a strong post bank, I think that's a great thing for regional Australia. So I've only had this enlightenment in the last 2 weeks, but it was amazing. If you couldn't use cash. It was amazing. Thank you.
Who'd ever thought, thank you, Councillor McCann, who would ever thought that legal tender, you can't utilise, but anyway. Thanks, Councillor McLaren. Further discussion on the motion, the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair.
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. I have some reservations about this because I think, in a way, we're playing straight into the hands of the big banks. We're given an easy way out, I think. I'd like to think that the federal government has some sort of power over these banks, although I'm starting to wonder about that too. But from my understanding of this is not setting up banks in the post office. This is a separate bank to the post office.
Like a government bank.
Yeah, so that's a lot of expense and a lot of, whatever to set that up. There's a lot of smaller banks, Bendigo Bank and all those smaller banks and societies and so forth. They're already up and going. I think we'd be far better off if there was some sort of incentive scheme by the federal government or somehow to get those smaller banks that are already set up and going to move to those smaller towns, or not so small towns where the big banks are pulling out of. So, for my money, I don't know that this is sort of the best setup. I think there can be better ones.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor. Go now to Councillor Bushell.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. A little while ago we moved a motion to support the ex-General Manager's submission to the Banks Inquiry. Is there any sort of information on that, of where that's up to? Can we find out dates for that before we start supporting something that may be, that large document that Gary did?
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Bush. That's a good question. That was submitted to the Senate inquiry. Yes. So the General Manager, I think you advise. Have you got any advice on that, please? Before your time, of course.
Through you, Mr Mayor, I haven't had any updates on that, but I will follow that up and bring that back to Council.
Yeah, thanks, Madam General Manager. Further discussion on this motion that's before us. Councillor Irvine.
Council aren't committing to any other action than to show some support. That's all. So, fundamentally, it comes with no strings other than to support the concept and allow our names to be attached to this working party's, what would you say, agitation or their promotion of the concept. And as to Councillor Sinclair's idea that the smaller banks are in some position to go and service these remote communities, the only people who would have the capacity to service the remote communities are the bigger banks, because they've got turnover and excess funds. The smaller banks fundamentally are flat out keeping their doors open and competing just due to market share and all of the costs associated with running a smaller operation. So Cooperative, for example, have lost their banking services. I can't see anyone going in there, particularly of the smaller variety. So, whilst leaving it to the smaller banks is, it's an option, this commits council to nothing other than supporting it, supporting the concept. I don't see an issue, I don't see a problem. There's no commitment from council other than that.
Thank you, Councillor Irvine. What I would note, you suggested that it was a working party. It's actually coming from a political party, the Australian Citizens Party, but just to clarify, so thank you. I'll go to Councillor Reinhold.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I wanted to support this motion because I think if we sit back and say nothing, we're compliant. And I think we need to say enough is enough and, yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Councillor Reinhold. I have to say I don't believe that Council have been saying nothing in terms of certainly a very lengthy submission to the Senate inquiry, but also very active, been very proactive with discussions with the banks that have left, which again I acknowledge that the results are not what we would like, but certainly council are doing their best within the powers that we have. So thank you, Councillor Reinhold. Councillor Oliver.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I don't particularly have a problem supporting this notice of motion. I'm not sure that it's going to be necessary here in Temora anytime soon, but for these other remote communities, all they have is a post office pretty much left in their towns. So they do need some sort of banking system there. But the market usually, I think in a town like Temora and towns of our size, the market will
Dictate.
Dictate what happens. And I think here in Temora, I think we're going to lose we are going to lose the National Bank. The Commonwealth Bank, probably, but I see the Westpac Bank as one of the stronger banks here in Temora, the most utilised. So I think a community like Temora would allow a Bendigo Bank as such to move in, or other smaller banks. So I don't, as I said, I don't have a problem with our council supporting this notice of motion. So that's all I'm going to say.
Thank you, Councillor Oliver. I go now to Councillor Good.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Like the Deputy Mayor, I'm a bit torn about this one. What I'm thinking, my thought process is that with the post office at the moment, they've got banking facilities, although limited, but from most banks. If they start a post bank, I can see those services disappearing because banks won't want to support an opposition. However, I disagree with Councillor Oliver in that I don't think the market forces will prevail. I think the banks look at their profit centres and branches. They don't see that they're making enough profit. The problem that you have with towns like, say, like Stockton, Bingle and Barberman, they don't have any businesses there now because they couldn't bank any cash, and so it makes it very difficult. My business, I have to have a trust account. There's only certain banks that I can have a trust account with. I can't have one with the credit union. And we get cheques and cash and things, and we need a physical presence to be able to do that. At the moment, I'm with the Commonwealth Bank, and they provide a good service, although it's limited. And I also agree, I can't remember which councillor said this, but if the Australia Post, if they do have a post bank, I can see it being an excuse for other banks to close their regional branches because they can say that there's support. Not support, but there's other options for country communities. But on balance, I'm thinking I will support the motion because we're just getting less and less services and we need to do something.
Thanks very much, Councillor Good. Councillors, you have the notice of motion before you that's been moved by Councillor Irvine and seconded Councillor Reinhold, and that motion is that Council support the campaign for a public post office bank in Australia. Now, the mover and seconder are happy with how that's worded, so in terms of the definition of support, are Council clear on what that, certainly what the motion is, but what the definition of support is? Does that mean a written letter, and if so, to whom? Discussion, Councillor Irvine?
I'd think that if this notice of motion is written into the minutes as exactly as that, I think it shows that council fundamentally support their endeavours, and anything other than that will just have to be discussed at the time.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Irvine. Councillor Good.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I see support as a written letter of support with no financial in kind at all.
And the letter to go to who? The Australian Citizens Party? Or the federal member for Riverina, or both?
Both, I would think.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. So the mover and second are happy with that. I think, Madam General Manager, we just needed that clarity. Is that
Would you?
the General Manager?
Through you, Mr Mayor, it would be clearer for us as officers to have that in the
Motion.
in the motion, actually.
So, okay. Thank you, Madam General Manager. So if we add that Council write letter of support for the campaign for a public post office bank in Australia to the federal member for Riverina and the Australian Citizens Party. So the mover's happy. The seconder, are you happy? Thank you. Okay, so moved and seconded. We've had good discussion. I will now put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. I declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. Councillors, let's go over to page 151, 18.2, Notice of Motion, Golden Fields Water County Council. Councillor Irvine, you wish to move your 6-point motion?
Yes, I'd like to move a motion relative to number one, that council make representations to Golden Fields Water County Council on behalf of the residents requesting waiving of the developer infrastructure charge. Make representations to Golden Fields Water County Council on behalf of the residents requesting an increase of the time frame within which they may recoup augmentation charges on a pro rata basis for neighbouring properties to better reflect the cost and lifespan of the infrastructure they are being asked to fund. The council make representations to Golden Fields Water County Council that if Golden Fields Water County Council choose to impose all charges, that a fair and reasonable payment plan be considered for the residents to help alleviate the immediate financial burden that costs of this scale represent at the commencement of a project. Number four I'll come back to because we've got a report from the General Manager that I'd like to touch on. So if I could just skip to point 5. Receive a report detailing the costs of services for ratepayers and developers in other LGAs serviced by Golden Fields Water County Council. And also receive a future report identifying residential vacant lots within Temora Area Park and Springdale that are subject to the imposition of developer infrastructure charges should a person wish to build. The same report might also identify which lots do not have water mains infrastructure available and which would therefore also incur significant pipeline augmentation charges.
Thank you. So, Councillor Irvine, you're moving point on page 151, points 1, 2, 3, 5 and 6.
Yes, and further, I would still like to see, although we've had the investigation conducted and the conclusions of the investigation seem to indicate that council don't think that they could deliver the augmentation works at a competitive cost.
So, Councillor Irvine, I'm just going to ask you, yes, we do need to have this motion to discuss, please.
I'd like to leave 4 unchanged in light of the report. Investigate cost to carry out augmentation works with council's plumber and plant and or contractor to ascertain if there is a possibility to reduce the costs of the augmentation works for the residents.
Thank you. So you're moving the notice of motion from points 1 to 6 on page 151?
Yes.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for the motion, please? Is there a seconder for the motion, please? For the third final time, is there a seconder for the motion? If there's no seconder for the motion, it lapses for want of a seconder. Thank you very much. We go over to page 153, 18.3, the notice of motion, outdoor staff. Councillor, beg pardon? So Councillor Bushell, you're flagging an interest in relation to the outdoor staff. Yes, you have. Well, that's up to you whether you are declaring a pecuniary or non-pecuniary. The Director of
I'll
Admin
declare
and
an
Finance.
interest too, but I'll stay in the room. Yep.
Okay, thank you. So Councillor Bush has declared an interest and she's vacating the chamber in relation to 18.3 notice of motion outdoor staff. The Director of Administration and Finance has declared an interest in relation to a family member outdoor staff and is remaining in the chamber. Any other declarations? Sorry, Councillor Irvine, can you turn your... Sorry, thank you. The Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair.
Yeah, well, it says, in one section it says outdoor staff, then it refers to council's workforce, which sort of indicates this could be all workforce. And if that's the case, I'll declare an interest as having a son that works for council too.
Thank you. That interest is noted. Thank you very much. I now go to
Mr. Mayor,
Sorry, Councillor
I probably
Reinhold.
would have to too if it includes all staff.
Thank you, Councillor Reinhold. Councillor Oliver.
I'd probably have to declare an interest as well, Mr Mayor, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Oliver. I don't think there's any one left, is there? Well, thank you very much, councillors, and I know that we're all trying to be cautious, so I appreciate that. Councillor McLaren, would you like to formally move your notice of motion?
I'd like to move that motion, please.
Thank you. So Councillor McLaren is moving, for those listening, that that Council receives a future confidential report on Council's workforce management planning, including such things as 1, any future retirement of key personnel, 2, outcome of recent recruitment efforts, 3, remuneration levels compared to similar occupations in Temora Shire, and 4, generalised data on the turnover of outdoor staff over the past 5 years, including any trend in exit survey results revealing reasons for leaving council. Councillor McLaren has moved that motion. Seconded, Councillor Judd. Thank you. Moved. Seconded. Discussion. Councillor McLaren.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yeah, this is basically to give councillors some information that might feed into our decision-making process at budget time. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thanks very much, Councillor McLaren. The General Manager, did you have any comments you'd like to make in relation to this for councillors' information?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Through you, Mr Mayor, I see the starting point for this piece of work being our workforce management plan that was prepared a couple of years ago as part of the integrated planning and reporting documents, and using that as a starting point to update any data that we have that would be more current, and then working, from that information and building from that and providing that to councillors in time as we're able to prepare that information.
Thank you, Madam General Manager. Well, councillors, you have the notice of motion there. It's been moved by Councillor McLaren and Councillor Judd. There's no further discussion. And I do appreciate Councillor McLaren putting in that notice of motion a future confidential report, acknowledging how full on the General Manager, the directors and the team are. So, Councillor McLaren?
Yes, there's no great urgency, but I am concerned about our wonderful staff and retaining them, and I know there are a lot of market forces out there pulling them in different directions, so thank you.
No, thanks very much, Councillor McLaren. Well, if there's further discussion, Councillor Oliver.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. The only concern I have with this is the increased workload on our staff, but we do have a bit of a starting point anyway, but but that's the only
Yeah.
only concern that I have. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Councillor Ogden. Look, and I was the same when I first read it, but then you're also sitting down with the General Manager and the Director of Administration and Finance, realising, well, it is a crucial issue, and yes, it'll take some time, but at least the motion flags that it's not as though it has to be done yesterday. So thank you very much. Well, if there's no further discussion, I'm going to put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye. Aye. To the contrary, no. I declare that motion carried. Thank you very much, Councillor McLaren. Councillors, we go over to page 155, business without notice of an urgent nature. And I have to be tougher. The General Manager advises me in relation to urgent. So unless there's anything of a genuinely urgent nature. If not, councillors, let's proceed over to page 156. A motion to receive the information paper, please. Deputy Mayor, Councillor McLaren, moved, seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you. Councillors, any items out of the information paper that you wish to highlight? I want to thank the Environmental Services Director and the Ranger we've had increase in complaints about parking, people staying there for extended periods, etc. And I thank the Director and the Ranger for just increasing those inspections, etc. So thank you very much. Any other items out of the information paper, councillors? Councillor Judd, you're hovering. Councillor Judd.
Just page 156, the Country Mayors Association report. I've said it before, but it still concerns me that we've got our local government New South Wales conference middle of November, and a week later we've got Country Mayors conference. And I think I said before that years ago we had two associations, and then the government was complaining about having to deal with two associations. Now we're back to the same thing again. I think sort of just worries me that we've gone backwards in a lot of ways. But even though the Country Mayors is probably achieving a lot more, I think it must be a bit confusing for the government at the time, work out who they're going to talk to. That's my concern.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Judd. Look, I can understand that to a point. However, Council may recall that there's a memorandum of understanding between both the New South Wales Country Mayors Association and Local Government New South Wales that we're actually reviewing at this present time. And I think, to your point, Councillor Judd, that something that isn't in there specifically, it certainly reflects that we've got to work together in terms of dates and etc. wherever possible, and also that we, as a Country Mayors Association, have carriage of rural regional issues. But I think perhaps it's something that we could do better on as a CMA, but also from an LGNSW perspective, that work even harder to try not to clash, because you're quite right, it's a big deal for many, and some councils are even talking about going to one and not the other, purely based on financial reasons. So that's and close proximity together. So I do take your point. That's something the General Manager and I can certainly take on notice to comment to the Country Mayors Executive, and we're talking to the President the other day of LGNSW, and she's always communicating, wanting to know ways they can improve. So if Council's happy and you're happy, Councillor Judd, we will follow that up. Thank you. Anything further, councillors, in the information paper? If not, in accordance with Section 10A of the Local Government Act 1993, I advise that there are several matters that are deemed confidential, and accordingly I require a motion, please, to have those matters considered. Councillor Good has moved that way. Seconder for the motion, please. Councillor Irvine, was that you seconding? The Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair, moved and seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Welcome back. We resume into open council. And I now hand it over to the General Manager, who will advise the following motions that have been brought forward from closed session to open session. The General Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I can advise that it was the mayoral minute. It was resolved that council adopt the confidential mayoral minute, that the minutes of the Assets and Operations Committee held on the 11th of July 2023, it was resolved that the reports be received. It was resolved that the reports and recommendations as presented be adopted. It was resolved that the minutes of the Economic Development Committee held on the 11th of July 2023, that the reports be received. And it was resolved that the reports and the recommendations as presented be adopted. It was resolved that the updated media release in relation to the Hoskins Street pavement upgrade be provided to the public in relation to the planned Hoskins Street pavement upgrade project. It was resolved that council note the report in relation to the Aboriginal land claims. It was resolved that council endorse the submission of the application for funding of the Harper Park toilets, upgrade and accessibility under the Clubs Grant infrastructure grants. It was resolved that council call for expressions of interest from appropriately resourced companies to provide management services for the Temora Recreation Centre, and that this process run concurrently with the Recreation Centre manager recruitment process, and the outcomes of both processes be brought back to the September Assets and Operations Committee for further consideration. It was resolved that council endorse the amendments to the agreement in relation to the Developer Infrastructure Deferred Payment Agreement. It was resolved that council move the motions from the closed session into open. And it was resolved that council moved out of the closed council and into open council at 5:30 p.m.
Thank you, Madam General Manager. You didn't do too badly. Could we please have a motion to formally adopt those resolutions, please? Councillor Good, thank you. Councillor Reinhold, thank you. Moved and seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. There being no further business, I was trying to pan this out. There being no further business before council, I thank you very much for your attendance and your contributions, and I declare the meeting closed.